Om Sadashiv Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Pada Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhasha Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha. Om Sahana Tu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Yes, so we have already chanted. So we are on verse number 50 and the topic has been continuously elaborated now for since 40th verse we started with, and the idea is that we have a faculty. Let me restate it. As an individual in our life, we go through lots of emotional stages, intellectual growth or confusions, and we are constantly struggling to maintain a peace of mind. There has been a lot of vichar in creation where what is the right method, if there is a method at all, to find living peacefully within oneself or by oneself. Being peaceful, remain peaceful. Is it a utopian wish or a task that we can be peaceful in despite of external environment? Is peace conditional? Is it subject to external world and situations? Or is it possible that I can remain peaceful despite external things? Whatever be the obstacle, whatever be the good time or the bad time, whatever be the difficult time or the pleasurable time, is a peaceful state that everyone desires to be happy and peaceful. That I can live peacefully. Is this a utopian wish? Is this possible? That vichar has been there in creation ever since, because the desire is so deep in us to be peaceful. Vedanta, or I'll rephrase, Vedas, says yes. Simple answer. No confusion. No ambiguity. If you wish to be wanting to consciously be in a peaceful state despite external conditions, retain your peace within and live a life. Yes, it is possible, Vedas say. But what prevents it? What is it that stops us? Why are we not, if we want it, why don't we have that lasting peace within ourselves? Very simple again answer is, it is our own inner held desires, our own inner held outlooks, mind, what we hold within our mind, our raga, dvesha, ahankar, etc., wants, wishes that we have. It is these that are preventing us from remaining peaceful. I'm repeating. If my desire is to be peaceful, then yes, it is possible to be peaceful despite external world. Live a life till your prarabdha is there. As long as it is there, you can live a peaceful life. How? What prevents it if I want it? My mind, myself. I am. Why my mind? I am of desires. I have raga dvesh. Means I like things and I dislike things. I love people. I hate people. I slip into extremes. I have hopes and therefore a lot of such things are there. Shastra's answer is simple. It is these, the root cause. First identifiable. These that are preventing a peaceful state. That's it. So then natural question will be, what should be the natural question? Anyone?
How to get rid of them or whatever, how to
Exactly. How will
neutralize
I
them.
get rid of all this? How do I remain without all this? How do I remain without my egocentric opinions, without my self-centeredness, without my jealousy, without my etc., envy, anger, compassion, love, whatever be the qualities that I identify with, how am I going to be free of these? Again, simple answer. Shastra says, the tools that you have, the method that you have available to you is, in your field of activity, in your realm of wherever you are living in life, you are obviously somewhere between friends and family and work and profession. There is some placement you have in the world. In that placement, you are supposed to simply focus on doing what you have to do. When you keep focusing on doing what you have to do, then automatically your mind gets a little free. And because of that little freedom from its sukkudan, its limited sight, because the mind gets freed of it, it expands a little, means it now gets a broader view. It becomes a little more objective. The more you do actions just for their own sake as a sense of duty, the first thing that happens is your mind becomes a little more objective, and objective means it is more neutral and it is more detached from the huddy-buddy of the situation or people. And because of that, there is a little expansiveness in the mind. Expansiveness means you are able to identify with a little more larger circumference than your own view or your immediate desires. That larger circumference, as it goes on increasing, there is a connection, as if there is an idea of an Ishvara that grows in you. That Ishvara means you need some Vedic exposure to identify Ishvara as a principle, as a law governor, but generally people would say God or some Devta, whatever name. But you are able to now subtleize your own thinking, whereby you are seeing life with a larger canvas. You can see life in a larger perspective. Now your actions can get centered as offering to that larger perspective. The more one offers as in dedicates oneself to such a larger perspective, whatever your environment brings in, it is irrelevant. It's truly irrelevant, whether it is one person or it is 1,000 people. Numbers do not matter. What will, of course, more is better. There is no doubt about it. It doesn't mean it should just stick to one. But idea is it is free of the number. When it is free of the number, what do I mean by that? The mind is relaxed. Even if at one point I have been able to dedicate my action in the right alignment of the law, to that an extent, I am getting free of this mala. Shastra calls it mala within ourselves. Mala means dirt. Our inner dirt, in the form of likes and dislikes and etc. How have I acquired this inner dirt now? I have acquired it by my past experiences, conclusions, all arrogated on myself. Today I am a bundle of thoughts and feelings and emotions. This, as it gets purified, this is purification. What is purification? Finding myself freer from my reactiveness. My reactiveness is under my control. There is a distance felt between the reaction and myself. A distance felt means from the situation and myself, whereby my mind and its reaction is also falling in my observation. Therefore, I tend to have a greater choice, a greater freedom to choose appropriately. That distance that I have within myself, this, he said, is samatvam. That samatvam between whatever is happening outside. So what is my desire? My desire is, I want to live peacefully despite anything. My testing ground is life where I live, where I am with people who I am. They are my testing grounds. They bring up the impurity in me. They bring up, as in my impurity comes out in situations. I can see them. So what does a student of Krishna here, Gita here, what does he do? He knows that if that peace is desired, my first step is samatvam. That samatvam comes from Ishwar Arpanam. Arpanam as in, I am dedicating this action for the larger cause. My starting point has to be here. And as this perfects or gathers momentum, the mind becomes freer, and that samatvam itself qualifying for Chitta Shuddhi. Chitta Shuddhi means now my mind is freer of all this. That becomes now available for a knowledge which is actually the base of your peace. Atmagyan is the base of your peace. So karma is the tool. Karma action is the means which help us to identify the impurity. Dedicated action towards the highest inclusive of Ishvara will purify the mind. Purifies the mind. By will. Purifies the mind. This is a far, far better way of acting. Therefore, Krishna says, Buddhau Sharanam Anvicha. Come to Buddhi Yoga. Take recourse in Karma Yoga. In the 49th verse, Buddhi Yoga has been used as Karam Yoga in one sense. 50th verse he said, Buddhi Yuktaha Jahatiha. Again, once you become united, you are giving up the realm of the desire for ye chahiye, acha, bura. No. Samatvam is what I want. Chitta Shuddhi is what I desire. And what is the way to Chitta Shuddhi? A very simple action, supposing like we chanted, or you do your whatever you do, if you just do it as Nitya Karma, you can identify the attitude difference. If I do it because I want something, it's different. But if I just do it because it's my Nitya Naimittika Karma, automatically the Raga Dveshas don't have a sprinkling. They do not get watering. The Raga Dveshas don't have watering. So, if your Raga Dvesha is not watered, they don't grow. How is the first level of Samatvam achieved? The first level of Samatvam comes by Raga Dvesha. Raga Dvesh is managed. You are free of it. Likes and dislikes you become relatively free of. Take recourse in this discipline first. Means what? बाहर दुनिया अपनी गति चलती रहेगी. बाहर तुम भी दुनिया के साथ उस गति में चलते रहोगे. व्यवहार में जो करना है, जिस रिश्ते में जो होना है, वो होता रहेगा जैसा होता है. But internally, you are anchored on this is meant for Chitta Shuddhi. Therefore, I am an observant person. I am an alert person. I am seeing my own reactions. I am on a self-improvement program. I am on a self-improvement path. I am on a self-growth path. I have chosen to be directed by the knowledge. Knowledge is a clear roadmap. It is showing me what are the obstacles to my peace and how to conduct my actions. Whatever be the external world, I can retain my samatvam. It comes with practice because my previous momentum of disturbance is going to be strong. Therefore, it will not happen. It may not happen instantly, but that shouldn't discourage me. All he says is, be with it. You will know. People ask, how do I know? Shastra gives you the validity. You will know when your mind has adequate shuddhi. Adequate shuddhi means you are freed of the impulses, because the jignasa that comes up after that and the lightness of the freedom that you feel within, your mind is in your control. Your mind is means your reactions, your feelings, your emotions are fairly under your control. And even if once a while they take you over, you are able to bring it back very soon. That is the test that is the mark of a Karam Yogi. What is it? He aspires, he is alert of the reactions of his state of mind. There is no perfect being. He knows he is as one of them. Every one of us is like every one of us. From the standard of Shastra Drishti, we are all balaha, we are all children. We all have ragadvesh, we all have jivatvam, therefore we have all of this. So, the difference can only be for the one who is Vyavasayi Nishchayatmika. When they have resolved that this mind takes me to all directions and makes me live hell while I'm here. So many people, in fact, haven't we always done this, heard this? The contentment we have seen in people who don't have enough in life, who are struggling still, who meet only their daily requirement. Contentment is more seen in them. They are fairly resolved. They're fairly happy, peaceful. They would prefer a better thing, no doubt, most of them. Some of them may resign, but that's a generalization. Compared to when you start having more things in life and more facilities and more comforts in life, has anyone ever observed what has lost the peace? What is it that actually made you lose the contentment? Now you have things, now you have comforts, now you're free of the cycle of survival to quite an extent. Should you not be to that proportion more peaceful than the one who has to struggle with their daily needs? But on an average, do we find that? The more person has, less chances of him being peacefully, as in a grown state of a peaceful. Grown means mind is now relaxed and is inquiring. Mind is relaxed and is on the topic of truth and is available with joy to everyone, is available, at your service kind of an attitude. Now, what is that? At your service, at your service. Whoever's there, a good way of doing karma yoga is whoever's in front, at your service. That at your service attitude is so beautiful because it frees you of your own infiltration of your own desires into your action. At your service. As long as it falls within my swadharma, at your service. So this attitudinal change that one brings in consciously, because of which he says, take that recourse, decide karke, stay on it, टिको उसके ऊपर. You should not have every day one naya tarika. Don't be experimental with these things. Today this path, tomorrow that. Let me integrate this and this. Let me do this. No, don't. If you mean freedom, stick to this formula. Come to Karma Yoga. You will find yourself relatively freer. It is a far higher way of living, because any other way of living is stressful and is extremely disturbing. He said then, buddhi yuktaha jahatiha ubhe sukruta dushkrite. Attached to your buddhi yuktaha, remain anchored in the buddhi yoga, buddhi yoga. Giving up the realm of ye chahiye wo chahiye, like supposing we just did a simple thing like a chanting. As you keep learning and growing, all 18 chapters would be done. Just doing it for no reason. I'm doing it because it's a day of dedication. Let's dedicate. Whatever I can maximize, dedicate. When you just do it for that sake, buddhi yuktaha, there is no other motive behind. There is no other reason behind. That buddhi yuktaha, he says, what will give you, he says, giving up punya and papa. Is the result coming good? Is it not good? Etc. Tasmat yogaya. In this way, when an action is done, karmasu kaushalam. It is an action which gives text, which is called the finest action. There is nothing better way of doing it. Karam Yoga is kaushalam. Then he said in 51st verse, Karmajam buddhi yuktahi phalam tyaktva manishinaha janma bandha vinirmuktaha padam gachanti anamayam. So, karmajam phalam tyaktva. Who knows the value of Karam Yoga is eager, tatpar ho jata hai. When you've understood why are we doing so much study and in so much details? Because when the buddhi becomes clear, the mind is ready to follow, because the mind starts seeing the reasoning. Therefore, knowledge is the shortest cut. Jnana Yoga is the shortest route to your peace. Once you understand, the mind starts seeing the reason, then it takes on to it. There is no resistance to it. So, karmajam buddhi yuktahi, the manishi who sees, the wise people who see the value of all these, he quickly gives up karmajam phalam tyaktva, gives up this sukruta, dushkruta, etc., joined to his own buddhi yoga, and because of which janma bandha vinirmuktaha padam gacchanti anamayam. So he gets to the padam, the higher padam. And what is that higher padam? He said Vishnu akhyaha, mokshakhyam, Vishnoho padam. Because in Kathopanishad there is a verse which comes where he's calling one of the names of Vishnu, meaning is moksha. So it doesn't necessarily refer to the form of Vishnu. The name Vishnu refers to moksha itself. So Shankara clarifies it, moksha akhyam, the one who goes to his peace. And what is that state? Anamayam, sarva upadrava rahitam. Then this can be meant even as Jnana Yoga. Buddhi Yoga can be taken as Sankhya Yoga also. And then the meaning changes a little bit. When it's Sankhya Yoga, he says you can take it because we already saw the verse Samplutodake, the Jnani, for him, what is the use of all these karmas? So alternatively, you can use Buddhi Yoga as Karam Yoga in the context or as Jnana Yoga in the context. Now he says, what is the great advantage of Yoga Buddhi? So we can chant this verse. Somebody wants to chant just this verse? Neetuji, can you do this?
Yes. Verse number 50, is it?
52.
52, okay. Yada te mohakalilam buddhirvyatitarishyati tada gantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha.
Once more.
Yada te mohakalilam buddhirvyatitarishyati tada gantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha.
Great. So he says, what is the gain of Karam Yoga, Sankhya Yoga? He says, Yada te moha kalilam. When, yada, conditional. When, te, your, moha kalilam, the kalushyam, the malata, impurity, malinata, impurity that you have in the form of moha. Moha means one level is buddhi confused, dharma confused, adharma confused. What is to be done, not to be done? What is Arjuna's case, condition? Moha. That moha kalilam. Once there is a confusion, there is bound to be ragadvesh. There is bound to be other forms of impurity. So, yada yasmin kale, at the time when buddhihi vyatita rishyati moha kalilam, when your buddhi crosses over, means gets clear and goes above the realm of this delusional, confused state of being. When your buddhi means when you are able to identify the clarity within yourself, which is above the realm of this mind when it is muddy with all forms of ragadvesh, etc. Jiva bhav. What is this moha kalilam? Mohatmakam aviveka rupam kalushyam. Shankara says this moha is in the form of avivek. This impurity is in the form of avivek, not thinking. When there is avivek as the base, as the substratum, then raga dvesh will obviously grow and it keeps you in the samsara cycle. So, yada yasmin kale te tava, your moha kalilam mohatmakam avivek rupi kalushyam, yena, because of that avivek buddhi, atma anatma viveka bodham kalushi krityam vishayam prati antakaranam pravartate. This atma anatma confusion being there, you give reality to the anatma realm, and that anatma vishaya is there in oneself, that your buddhi is going to purify it, remove it. Tada, then, when this purification happens by your discernment of what is self and not what is atma and anatma, and is able to take your mind away from the realm of the natural pravritti towards desires and objects, tada, then, gantasi nirvedam, gantasi, you will go to. Nirvedam. Nirvedam is another word for vairagyam. Bhagwan Shankara also says it. Nirvedam vairagyam. Gantasi prapsyasi. You will go to, you will get. When your buddhi is clear of confusion regarding Atma and Anatma, then you will get vairagyam. Nirvedam, vairagyam. And vairagyam from what? Shrotavyasya, shrutasya cha. Whatever realm of karma can give you that you have heard. Karm Kand has glorified, ye karoge to ye milega. Or from your laukik karma, if I do this much, I will get so much salary, etc. Whatever you are hearing as fruit of your action, whatever you have heard or you will hear in the future, shrotavyam shrutam, te nishphalam pratibhati, you will become free of that hankering, that wanting of this fruits. You will come to the state of nirvedam, means vairagyam from this mind running to the objects and things and people. When your buddhi becomes clear, now see the context. Karmajam buddhi yuktahi phalam tyaktva manisha. When you will give up the fruits, the manishi becomes free of janma bandha. Then Shankara said, this yoga anushtan janata sattva shuddhi, when I get purification of the mind, this buddhi, what becomes of it, what will I get? What sort of a buddhi is born from the purification of the mind? He says a buddhi which is going to be freed of the confusion of what is right, what is wrong, what is to be done, what is not to be done, what is permanent, what is impermanent, what is sat, what is asat, what is righteous, what is unrighteous, what is atma, what is anatma. Buddhi has clarity, because of which the mind itself is now not running towards the realms of asat, the realms of anatma. It withdraws, loses interest. in whatever is heard or what is going to be heard, what is going to be got. I give the example everybody knows now, probably the Nachiketa example. And in Nachiketa's when Yama gives him all this, I will give you this, I will give you this, he's got a disinterest. Why does he have disinterest? Because he knows these prapta vishaya, whatever are the sense objects that have to be got, anyway I can get them by my prarabdha, and whatever comes is sufficient. He has his own reason. So such a person whose buddhi has gone, buddhi here, intellect is the translation, has a lot of clear understanding. To such people, there is vairagyam, is a very simple meaning of the verse. They develop vairagya. So what will happen when you have chitta shuddhi? The lakshana of chitta shuddhi is
Mind will stop racing to
mind
other
will stop
things.
racing. And
Yeah.
here, as I just said, what is that lakshana?
You're away from mohas.
You are away from moha. What is the verse saying you will get?
Sambhav.
Nirvedam.
Sambhav nirvedam. And what did I say is nirvedam?
Is vairagyam.
Vairagya. So what is happening? Now let's do this once again. Our minds run to objects and we are engaged in action. We lose our shanti. We are disturbed. We want to regain our shanti. We can do it by some method, distraction and all that, but it's temporary. At some other occasion, it runs away again and it's once again disturbed. Now I want a solution where I can be in my own peace, despite all this happening outside. Things have to change outside, things have to go wrong outside, but I should be remaining in a peaceful place in myself. How do I become peaceful? Buddhi yuktaha. Get to buddhi, karma yoga. Do your actions as a dedication. At your service. Take out your cap, wear a cap, take out your cap, at your service. At your service. At your service. And even the words, even as I am saying it, doesn't it give you joy from within? Releases something, isn't it? Just imagine, at your service. What can I do for you? What can I do for you? Dhire dhire, your mind will stop wanting things for itself. You will stop wanting to work only for your gains, your result orientedness. Your mind is now eager to do, because the joy of giving, the joy of serving is what it will start tasting. The joy of that inner freedom that it's getting is what it starts to have as an experience. What can I do? So once it comes to what can I do, now the Chitta Shuddhi is beginning to happen even with your very first action like that. You may not register. But because of the study, now a diligent program is made. It's a program made, self-program for self-growth. I undertake a self-program for self-growth. So what do I do then? Now I'm at it. The more I'm there, the more cheer, the more detachment, the more joy I experience, the less running after things. I start developing a Viveka Shakti, a Viveka Buddhi is there, which tells me, because I'm not caught up in the mire of delusive thoughts or etc., the Buddhi becomes sharp and it tells me what is right and what is wrong, and I'm able to do it better because of this cycle. When this mental confusion and not knowingness, delusions are gone, buddhi crosses them, then you will come to a point where your mind is held stable. एक किस्म का स्टैंडर्ड वैराग्य आ जाता है. Standard vairagya is not to be feared. A standard state of a minimal peace that you automatically get. There's a minimum level of peace that you live with. Vairagyam is desired for what sake? Vairagyam doesn't mean I don't have objects. Vairagyam doesn't, we've done this in great details in Tattva Bodha. Vairagyam doesn't mean that I don't need things or I don't have value for things. I mean, have objects in my life. Vairagyam means I have a right value for them. So I have a minimum level of peace that I live with. That nirvedam means shrotavyasya, what is to be heard, shrutasya, what I have heard, do this and get this. The entire realm of karm kand is now no longer holding my mind. When I say entire realm of karam kand, the shastra means the realm of causation, the realm of karma you have now got vairagyam for. अब फल से जुड़ने बनता ही नहीं है, कर्म से फिर भी जुड़े हैं, फल से वैराग्यम हो गया. Complete vairagyam in a way. Complete is a matter of speech. There is vairagyam. That itself is complete. That vairagyam from phal se judana. Therefore, you get to that stage which is nishphalam pratibhati pratipadhyate. You reach that stage which is disinterested in the fruits. Nothing of the phalam will hold you. Then if you ask, moha kalilatya dvarena labdha atma vivek ja born pragnya kada karma yogajam phalam parmartha yogam avapsyami. When will I get parmartha yoga? True. Karma yoga has brought me to Sankhya yoga through that Vivek born pragnya. What is that Vivek born pragnya? What is real, what is unreal? Then through that pragnya, kada, when, karma yogajam phalam, which has come from the karma yoga, when will that parmartha yoga will I get? If you ask, then that 53rd verse is an answer for that. So far, okay? Is there a question? Clear verse? Neetaji, can you chant 53rd?
Yes, Diptiji. Shruti vipratipanna te yada styasyati nischala samadhavachala buddhi tada yogam avapsyasi.
Once more.
Shruti vipratipanna te yada styasyati nischala samadhavachala buddhi tada yogam avapsyasi.
Right. Hasyati
Tasyati. Okay.
and
learning.
samadhavachala.
Okay.
Excellent. Very good. So, Shruti Vipratipanna. Shruti Vipratipanna, he says, Aneka sadhya sadhana sambandha prakashana shrutivihi shravanaihi pravritti nivritti lakshanaihi. Shruti Vipratipanna. All the various means Cause and effect means that the Shruti offers that you have heard which take you towards the mode of action, pravritti, and those that have nivritti lakshana, nana pratipanna, various kinds, vipratipanna, of the various kinds. Your buddhi hasyati nischala, becomes thiribhuta sthasyati yada, when the buddhi becomes thir in all these various actions and the fruits that are promised in the world through karmas, which is in the form of sukha prapti, dukha nivritti, going towards it or avoiding it, pravritti, nivritti, lakshana, isko chhod dete hain, isko kar lete hain. In that form, the various kinds of sadhana, sadhya, sambandha, karmas that are there, causational, ye karoge to ye milega, etc. When your buddhi has got disinterested completely in all of those fascinating promises, do this and you will get this, and you will go to a better place, especially after death, you will get to heaven, blah blah, all this. Then what will happen? Samadhau achala buddhihi tada. Then samadhau achala, your chittam will become samadhi. That samadhi doesn't mean just the yoga, ashtang yoga samadhi. Samadhi me means equanimity, your samatvam. The buddhi will become automatically stabilized. Samadhi. Usko, it doesn't waver. We started by saying today our minds are disturbed by things outside. We want peace despite things outside. Through this model that Vedas have given us, Karam Yoga, Chitta Shuddhi, Jnana Yogyata, Jnana Prapti, through Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. Through this model, now what has happened? Buddhi has become sthir. The Jnana has become sthir. Man ab vyakul nahi rehta. Man ab vichlit nahi hota, asani se. It is still not completely free. It is still in the stage of sadhana. But it has become achala, nischala. When it will become nischala, bhavishyati, nischala, vikshepa chalana varjita. What is a vikshepa vritti? विक्षेप कैसे कहते हैं? With reference to monkey, I have given you the example. Once distracted. Correct. What happens to a monkey? It runs from branch to branch.
All the time jumping.
All the time jumping. And even if it is, say, held at a branch in one place, it is fidgety. When we take to meditation, those who are doing meditation as a practice, when you take a meditation, initially what happens to the mind? That is called vikshepa. Chanchal rehta hai na? It's chanchal. Distracted is the right translation. It gets distracted. टिकता नहीं है. अगर आप इसको अभी बोलो, okay, even while say a topic, why do we do dhyana shloka before the Gita or the invocations before the Gita? Because mind is naturally vikshipt. Vikshep mein hai, distracted hai by other things. So when one comes to the Jnana Prakaranam, we want the mind to become samahit. Leave the distractions aside till the Jnana Prakaranam is there. And when it is taking that knowledge, at that time, it should not have those distractions. Mind should be steadily concentrated, focused. Together. Samahit hai. Samadhau achala. It doesn't move easily. That vikshepa chalana varjita sati samadhau samadhiyate chittam asminiti samadhihi atma tasmin atmani iti etat. It is, what is that state where it will remain by itself? He says that is Atma within oneself. Atmani eva. Tada, then yogama avapsyasi. That vikalpa varjita sthiti, achala sthiti, that is yogam avapsyasi. You have attained the state of yoga, which is what viveka prajna. He's building the context for the next portion. Sankhya Yoga he has come back to, because Sankhya Yoga he gave first and second chapter. To be qualified for Sankhya Yoga, Karam Yoga is the sadhana. Karam Yoga he is completed. He's brought us back. What is the fall of Karam Yoga? Karam Yoga ka prayojan kya hai? Getting established in Sankhya Yoga. So what is that Sankhya Yoga? He says Viveka Prajna, usi ko Samadhi kehte hain. When your knowledge, Prajna means what? Prajna. Gnya is Gyan mein jo Gnya hai. That is knowledge, self-knowledge, understanding. Prajna, wisdom. That itself is what you get. So you get established in a steady state of self-knowledge. Undistracted. You get established in a steady state of self-knowledge. It is a prajna. I often give you the example. If I quickly ask you, who are you? What will you answer?
I'll tell my name.
You'll tell your name. So your prajna is established at your name. मैं ये हूं. तो कोई मुझे स्ट्रेंजर भी पूछता है, मुझे डाउट नहीं आता है, what am I? Who am I? My name is my prajna. It's sthit today. It's established in me. My name is a knowledge established in me as me. But what happened because of Karam Yoga? Chitta Shuddhi. Because of Chitta Shuddhi, what happened? My Antakaranam has now got prepared to receive a greater knowledge about my own self. Remove my misconceptions. Remove my wrong ideas of who I am. Correct them. Remove them means it corrects them. And my wrong understanding gets completely destroyed. That wrong understanding was what? I am
the karta. I am the karta.
Exactly. I am this name. I am this form. I am karta. I am born. I will die. Therefore, my mind was always vyakul. I want this. I don't want this because this will give me dukkham. This will give me sukham. If I have to, who will want a struggling life? Because struggle means dukkham. I don't want dukkham. Therefore, I will work hard. I will work hard to make myself more comfortable. I will work for those two terms. What did he use? Krishna. I'm now establishing samskars in all of you for the Shastra terms. Now we are fairly established as a study group. So I am now establishing, what are the two terms he used? He said, we are always engaged in. He said, stop the worry. If you want to do Karam Yoga, stop the worry for that.
Yogakshema.
Excellent. Yogakshema. Very good. We are engaged constantly in why do I want this and not want this? Ye milega to dukh hoga, ye milega to sukh milega. Therefore, let me work more hard. If I'm working 6 hours and I get this, I'll work 8 hours and I'll get more. I'm constantly engaged in yogakshema. And because I'm constantly engaged in getting things and preserving things, my entire energy is getting spent into all this. My mind, I have no place to hold it. I have no place to be anchored into something better. When I die, what will be my mind like? What will it be filled with? What are the thoughts I'll have? These only thoughts that I'm carrying now. But for that Bhagyavan, Bhagyavati, for that blessed being who said, I will use this time not for Yogakshema. Let Yogakshema come as prasad. मुझे जो मिलेगा ना, I will be happy with it. मुझे जो मिलेगा ना, I will be content with it. Definitely I will not die of starvation. Definitely I am not dying of hunger and difficulties. I will work. Because I am working, anyway I am earning. It is coming in the law of karma. I will anyway earn something. Whatever I earn, I will be content with. I am not running after Yogakshema. I will do my karma. Yogakshema, I am leaving it to Bhagwan. I am leaving it to the law. Whatever be my desires, let them get fulfilled indirectly. I will not work to fulfill my desires for the material world, and everybody will have them. But how much work should I generate to fulfill them? How much action plan should I have to fulfill them? I am not going to have an action plan for them. We have POAs, plan of action, POA for this and that and some goals of life, and then therefore this. I am going to be in the mold of Chitta Shuddhi. What can I do for you? At your service. Something like that. And when I say at your service, I impose Ishvara onto that person. Therefore, at your service. So it looks like the person I'm serving, but I'm not. No. Whatever I get, it is not a person who gives me. I get it from Ishvara. I work for Ishvara. I get it from Ishvara. My connection is only with Ishvara, because ultimately all this is nothing but Ishvara. The entire Jagat is nothing but Brahman. Sarvam khalu idam Brahman. The whole thing is nothing but Brahman. I only look at it with a sense of division because I am the one who is in avidya. Therefore, when I am working for Chitta Shuddhi, automatically this Jnana Nishtha, I come to a state where Jnana Yogyata has come, though the Gita has brought it in a jumped manner, as if it has immediately happened. Obviously, it's not an immediate thing. Karma Yoga gave me Chitta Shuddhi, and from Chitta Shuddhi, now that Jignasa has to be there for me. And that Jignasa, I keep saying, Jignasa has to be enough for me to be able to stay put to hear the words of the Shastra, Atma Vidya, which means vairagya has to be there. Because if I don't have vairagyam, what will happen? Even if I am, say, I can pursue this knowledge for a few weeks, for a few months, after that what will happen? Now some other action will take me away. Some other desire will take me away. Something else will pull me into the world back, pull me my interest back to fulfill that interest. Because of Karam Yoga, it's a gradual process. It's a very gradual. You may not see it straight away, but you will identify the state of your mind, because that is a prasad. You cannot work for that peace yourself. It's not a causational realm. You can work in causation for action and fruit. ये करने से मिल सकता है. But what will give me peace? I'll do this and I will get peace. Have you ever thought of that causation? Does it work? Let me do this and I will get peace. I can do this and I will sow an apple seed and I'll get an apple tree. Is there some causation like that that you can identify which will give you peace? peace is only in the form of nivritti. It can come only through nivritti. Nivritti means giving up what you're holding wrongly as yours. When you give that up, you get peace. So through Karam Yoga, what has happened? You have come to the state of Chitta Shuddhi. And through Chitta Shuddhi, what has happened? The mind has jignasa to know. It has some level of tivrata to get more knowledge and understanding. Karam Yoga doesn't seem to be enough, though it is correct. But I still do not know who I am. That bothers a person. I still do not know my identity. I'm still subject to things. I still am subject to disturbance. I haven't found the peace that is lasting. So through Shravanam, Mananam, through Gyan, he says you come to that state where the prajna remains steady. That is yoga. That is now final yoga, as in that is the yoga buddhi, sankhya, yoga buddhi, and then yoga means I am now established. Through that yoga, the buddhi of who I am, and we have done this in some touched upon it in Ramana Maharishi's Upadeshasar, because he is the one who takes us through the whole prakriya in 30 verses. Excuse me. And in the end, when he said that when you are sitting and your vichar can come to the point of who I am, the mind is still and it reflects in the mind. Antakaran is pure. It's made up of complete sattva guna. When your antakaram, your mind is calmed and purified like crystal water. Like Meghalaya, you have this river which is so pure that you can see the pebbles below and you can see the boat as if it's on a transparent sheet. No saltiness in the water. When your mind is like that, Atma is revealed. That Lakshana is revealed. It's not something you will get in future. You will get in future is only to the extent your mind is purified. Atma is here now, but what is it? The mind is not clear. Mind is not purified. So what is coming through it is not getting recognized. Exactly like if you have a torchlight and it is capable of showing everything, but if you cover it up with one cloth, how much light will come out? Cover it up with more cloth. Cover it up with a thicker cloth. The light is on, the battery is there. There is light supposed to come out. But if you've covered it up only with a thick cloth, how capable is that torch of giving you light? That is called Atma is already here. But when the mind is already in mala, has ragadvesh because of avidya, therefore it does not get reveal itself. Atma doesn't self-claim itself. The jiva cannot say, I am Brahman, because I am jivatvam is filled in the mind. I am jiva is, I am an individual is filling the mind. So the individual cannot claim I am Atma while he is Atma. Is this clear? Is this point clear? Yeah. So therefore the question was, now again the topic is complete. Means he gave us the conclusion of Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is concluding again into Sankhya Yoga. Brings you to Sankhya Yoga means you have a steady knowledge of who you are. Aham Brahmasmi is a steady, available perception. You are that. Now comes the question, but natural. Shankara says there will be a question. What is the Lakshana of such a person? When I don't, what is the identifiable mark? Prashna Bijam Pratilabhya Arjunaha Uvacha Laptha Samadhi Pragnasya Lakshana Bubhutsaya, with a desire to know. What is the lakshana of such a person who's gone into samadhi, and not yoga samadhi as an ashtanga yoga samadhi, which will break. You cannot last. Why is it temporary? Why is it not that yoga? Because it is temporary. But here the yoga mentioned is permanent. And what is that permanent? Atma drishti, Atma sthiti. Being Atmani, Atma sthiti. In yourself. That Atma is a recognizable reality. It is you. So he says, there is going to be a jignasa, occasion of a jignasa, of a prashna. It's such a person jiski buddhi mein Atma Jnanam established hai. Hindi will be better. One who has gone through this, starting as a bhogi, took to the path of yoga, as in self-growth, got some anugraha of knowing what is the right path, came to the right path, started the journey with Karam Yoga, mind has now grown, has got focus, if it lacks focus, it has to do Upasana Yoga. Upasana Yoga will help bring mind into more focus and concentration. Even a Parayanam, when we do the Parayanam also we find the mind goes everywhere. So Parayanam also helps. All these things. So once the mind is brought into the frame of jignasa, focus and concentration, this mind now has some anugraha again. Because of these practices, you keep earning the anugraha. You keep getting the nature opens it up for you. Nature makes it available to you. You have some occasion of jnanam. You get a shastra vidya. You get the proper explanations. Your buddhi is able to tune. You are able to remain on that. Now, dhire dhire, your sanshaya starts to dissolve. The ragadvesh is dissolving through karam yoga. Through jnana, the sanshaya of I am a jiva dissolves. And Atma Jnana times forth. Arjuna is in a state where he is still deluded. He is still confused. So Arjuna wants to know. He's got actually a little distracted, but he wants to know what is the lakshana of such a person. जिसका ज्ञान स्थिर है. That means वो जीता कैसे है फिर? अब उसके पास कोई डिस्ट्रैक्शन तो है नहीं, कुछ करने को नहीं है. हमारे पास तो बहुत कुछ करने को है. क्यों? बिकॉज हमें बहुत कुछ चाहिए या बहुत कुछ अवॉइड करना है. सो वी हैव अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स टू डू. बट द वन हुज आत्म विद्या इज एस्टैब्लिश्ड, अहम ब्रह्मास्मि ज्ञानम इज एस्टैब्लिश्ड नाउ, वो क्या करेगा? व्हाट विल ही डू इन लाइफ? उसको दिस इज मोक्ष. सो व्हाइल ही इज अलाइव, इफ ही इज गॉट मोक्ष, रेस्ट ऑफ हिज लाइफ ही इज जॉबलेस. व्हाट विल ही डू? ही विल बी सो बोर्ड. He'll have nothing to do. What is he going to do? Of course, Arjuna is not asking in that sense, but he's asking to say, what is it that are the lakshanas? And that 54th verse onwards, now the topic is shifted back to Sankhya Yoga, but it has come to Sankhya Yoga as an established Sankhya Yogi, Jnana Yogi. The established Jnani, how does he live? And Shankara gives a beautiful point here to say that the lakshana of a jnani is not to just to eulogize or to give praise to a jnani. It is what is his established state ka description is also a sadhana for those who aspire that state. It is like saying, if you see when you're a kid, when you're young yourself and you've started learning how to write letters. You're taught A, B. How was your lettering initially, before practice? Just when you started learning A, B, K, K.
It's not perfect. It requires a lot of practice.
It requires practice. You even need those 3 lines within which you have to write. And while you're practicing, your teacher shows you the perfect lettering on the board. Now that perfect lettering that the teacher has written on the board, you see your writing and you see that writing. What is the difference between the two?
You need improvement.
You need improvement. And what else it's saying? Absolutely, you need it. Sorry?
Practice.
Practice. That is your future state. If you will practice.
That's your goal. That's your goal.
That is your goal and that is your practice. That lettering is your practice. Don't worry about the goal. That goal you will reach. It's not a goal you work for. It is something that you are practicing. You just have to practice. What you're seeing there, you are bound to get that. If that initial practice of yours is so breaky and doesn't look like it'll ever reach there. But that is exactly what you have to keep practicing. Keep writing A, ka, 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 and finally, forget that, very interesting. Abhi, when you did the chanting of the verse, Neetuji, the second time was already better than the first time. It was already different. There was one missed something, and by the second time, automatically it came. How did it come?
Practice.
This. He says, see, सांख्य योग आत्मा अनात्मा विचार है, मगर हमारा मन अभी वहां बैठता ही नहीं है. तो हमारा मन को तैयार करना है. उसको तैयार करने के लिए उसने कर्म योग का फॉर्मूला दे दिया भगवान ने. अब कर्म योग में फिर थोड़ा उपासना योग डालना है, बिकॉज माइंड फोकस्ड ऑन अ पॉइंट रहता नहीं, एंड जिज्ञासा पूरी हली नहीं. When you continue to do that, through now the steps covered, you will get Upanishad Gyan, you will get Atma Gyan, then you will practice. What is that practice of Atma Gyani? जो मैं बन जाऊं कर, श्रवण कर लिया, गीता पढ़ ली, आपने 18 चैप्टर हो गए, and studied twice, thrice, so that now the verses have begun to penetrate. It will be incorrect to say at first time all the meaning will come together. Through constant repetition, through constant hearing, it gets reinforced more and more. The meaning becomes sharper and clearer. And your actions keep obviously shifting to yoga. Then what is that which will make my buddhi steady in the prajna? Which prajna? Which prajna? Huh? Atma Gyan prajna. Atma prajna. Prajna is what? Knowledge. So which prajna must my buddhi become steady with? Atma prajna. So to know that, what is that final state which should inspire me to practice? वो जान के मुझे पता है कि मेरी practice कहाँ होनी है. So this portion is given, says Shankara. What is an established state for a jnani is a state, is a sadhana for a sadhak, is a practice for the seeker. The very established state for a jnani is the practice for a seeker. You hear the classical pianists playing? How effortless their fingers move. This is, say, Mozart. Someone's playing a Mozart piece. How much effort has gone on the same piece before it became music to your ears as a hearer? Because if there is less practice, the music doesn't come the same. The fingers glide, the notes have to glide, and they have to touch the right frequency. for you to get the feeling. So what is that sthita prajna's constant state? वो जो जीता, that I started the class by saying the peace that we ask for, हमेशा रहने वाली इच्छा तो है, मगर उसके लिए are we ready to work accordingly, मतलब prepare ourselves accordingly? Because there is no other way, Shastra says. So therefore, that gets completed in this portion, and it starts with, I'll just touch upon this question, and then Bhagavan will start answering, and a new portion has started, Sthita Prajna Lakshana. The Lakshana, characteristics of a person who's established in Atma Vidya, in Aham Brahmasmi, who's established. उसकी प्रज्ञा बिल्कुल, आज जैसे नाम हमारा established है, ज्ञान उसका, उसको ब्रह्मन established है. What will be his lakshanas? What will be his characteristics? Is the question. Can you chant again, Neetaji?
Yes. Arjun uvacha sthita pragnasya ka bhasha samadhisthasya keshava sthitadhi kim prabhasheta kimasita vrajeta kim.
Arjuna, not Arjun.
Arjuna uvacha.
Correct. Once more.
Sthita pragnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava sthitadhi kim prabhasheta kimasita vrajeta kim.
So Arjuna is now asking a question. Krishna has finished the topic. I hope we are clear up to this point fairly. Now Arjuna is asking a question. Sthita prajna, sthita, जिसकी steady है वो प्रज्ञा. का भाषा, what is the description of such a person? Who is samadhisthasya Keshava? How does this person talk, and what is the description of this O Keshava? How is he how will you describe him? जिसकी स्थित प्रज्ञा है, how do you describe him? ततधिहि किम प्रभाषेत. How does his dhihi, buddhihi, how is his buddhi sthita, functioning, sthita? Kim prabha, kim asita vrajet kim. How does he, asita means sit, vrajet means move. Means how does he, there are questions according to the answers that Krishna gives, we will get the right meanings of the questions also. He says, Arjuna is asking, in general terms, he is asking, the one whose buddhi has become steady, उसको डिस्क्राइब कैसे करते हैं, वो बोलते कैसे हैं, वो बैठते कैसे हैं, वो चलते कैसे हैं, मीन्स घूमते कैसे हैं, सबके बीच में कैसे रहते हैं, वो व्यवहार में सबके साथ कैसे रहते हैं, और उनकी बुद्धि कैसे स्टडी है, कैसी है बुद्धि. That, oh, tell me that. And Bhagavan will start answering from the 55th verse, which we do next time. Okay? So, sthita prajnasya sthita pratishtha. That established. What? Aham asmi param brahma. I am that param brahman. Iti prajna. In this manner, that knowledge. Yasya saha, the one who has sthita prajna. He is a sthita prajna. उसको स्थित प्रज्ञा कहते हैं. जिसमें भी ये बुद्धि है, अहम अस्मि परम ब्रह्मा. हमारी बुद्धि में क्या है?
राग द्वेष.
राग द्वेष. तो जिसकी बुद्धि में अहम अस्मि परम ब्रह्मा है, इति प्रज्ञा यस्य सह स्थित प्रज्ञा. tasya ka bhasha bhashanam vachanam. What is, how does he talk? Or Shankara gives a little more meaning. Katham asau paraihi bhashyate. How do others talk about him? How do they gossip about him? Because he is out of their perception. वो समझ ही नहीं सकते उसको. So how do they describe him? Well, all this mysticism in the world grows because of this reason. When there is a growth difference between two people, the one who has a lower growth, avaram जिसका है, वो वरम को नहीं समझता, तो वो वरम को प्रोजेक्ट करके कुछ अपनी बुद्धि के हिसाब से सोचता है. That is how they, and then they conclude कि वो ऐसे हैं. Actually वो उनकी बुद्धि है that they project. And that is how impure, when your minds are, this is how it works. But in his case, how does he talk about himself, the state, and how do others talk about him? Asau parau bhashyate. Samadhisthasya samadhau sthitasya he Keshava. In that samadhi, स्थिरता, अंतकरण की स्थिरता, बुद्धि की स्थिरता. So samatvam was what? What was samatvam?
एकाग्रता.
Okay. किसकी स्थिरता?
बुद्धि की, विचार की,
मन की स्थिति की स्थिरता. What is समाधिस्थस्य है? बुद्धि की स्थिरता, आत्मविद्या की स्थिरता. उसकी
मैम दोनों सेम, दीदी दोनों सेम है क्या या अलग है?
No, वैसे from Karam Yoga we said Antakarana Shuddhi. That samatvam is yoga uchyate. So मन की स्थिरता, but स्थित प्रज्ञा, बुद्धि की स्थिरता किसमें? So कर्म योग से क्या हुआ? ज्ञान योग. ज्ञान योग से आत्मविचार, आत्मविचार से अहम ब्रह्मास्मि, अहम ब्रह्मास्मि की स्थिरता, बुद्धि की स्थिरता. So samatvam was a preparation. Your mind is now fairly antakaran, mind, intellect, use the words whichever way you want to use it. But it doesn't still have the gyan of I am Brahman. Are you understanding?
Yes, qualify कर रहा है ज्ञान के लिए.
हाँ, क्वालिफाई कर. सो समत्व बुद्धि में जब कहा है, समत्व बुद्धि कह लो, मन कह लो, कोई बात नहीं, बट समत्वम में ज्ञान नहीं है. आत्म प्रज्ञा में आत्म ज्ञान है एंड समत्वम है. अंतकरण भी समत्वम है एंड ज्ञान भी आत्मज्ञान है. तो अहम, सो सच अ स्थित प्रज्ञा, तो स्थितधि ही स्थित प्रज्ञा स्वयं वा किम प्रभाष, मीन्स अपने आप कैसे बोलते हैं और कैसे बोलते हैं. हाउ डू अदर्स टॉक अबाउट. किम आसीत, स्थितधि उनकी खुद की बुद्धि कैसी है. किम आसीत व्रजेत किम आसनम व्रजना इत्यर्थः स्थित प्रज्ञा से लक्षणम अनेन श्लोकेन पृच्छ्यते. So he's just asking all the lakshanas, and through the rest of the shlokas, when Bhagavan answers, we get the various answers of the questions from this. And it's a very beautiful portion, complete in itself. So if someone says, I don't understand how to do Karam Yoga, I told you in one of the classes before, Gita gives us a lot of such small models. I'm calling them models. You can apply Karam Yoga straight away. That's the easiest. You can start with Sankhya Yoga, nahi samajh mein aaya, Karam Yoga. One model complete. But if you say, I don't understand still, Karam Yoga bhi kaise karna hai? Now he is giving you idolizing someone and absorbing their characteristics by sheer idolizing. होता है ना? When you idolize someone, you become them. Why? Because your mind has got so tuned to those. In fact, that's a principle of upasana also. That's a principle of all idolizing. When you idolize someone, those characteristics to start absorbing. So if you can't do karam yoga because it needs buddhi yoga, if you don't say I have no buddhi, then you idolize a jnani.
Then that's what gives you inspiration also.
Inspiration, and because you're seeing it, you are learning it without your buddhi getting involved too much.
Deepiji, is it same as Bhagwan? I mean, looking up to a god?
Same. Only difference is, actually same principle is the same. Sthita Prajna is Bhagwan anyway. But here, he'll give the lakshanas in a way that you can start absorbing by idolizing them. So it's now a new model of self-improvement. How can you start self-improvement?
So I have a question, Deepiji. When a jnani, he has achieved what he wants to achieve. He's got the jnana. Does he still have to do his duties, or is he free of duties?
Very good question. 3rd chapter will be answering it. Krishna will answer the same question. Answer is yes, he still has to do his duties. But how does he do his duties? He doesn't do it for Chitta Shuddhi. He doesn't need it. He does his duties for Loka Sangraha. In
But
fact,
Deepiji, aren't we also doing the same? Like for getting Chitta Shuddhi, we are also saying that whatever fruits come our way, we offer it to you. Isn't it the same?
no, he's already established. He doesn't need to do them. He doesn't need to do them, and yet he does them. We need to do it. If we don't do it, we are samsari. To purify, we need to do them.
Okay, yeah. Ours is a need
He's
based.
free. Ours is need based. We don't have a choice, in fact. He has a choice. He need not do. So you have many jnanis who don't even, we will never know their names. They lived in their own dunya of their own Atma Vidya, and nobody knows about them. And then there are jnanis who decided to come out in the world and do Lok Sangraha. Tell others. So it's like that cave example I gave. Go back and pick up one more person. So they do their actions as Loka Sangraha. But that's details he'll give in 3rd chapter. In that context, you'll get the more clarity because the topic will build up accordingly. In fact, Gita tells, even Krishna will say to Arjuna directly in the 3rd chapter, I am still working. What was Krishna's role in the war? Krishna says, I am working. I don't need to be in the war, but I am here.
So Deepiji, when he asked, how do these people look and all, Krishna would have just said, you can look at me. Am I not the same?
He could have said, but isn't Arjuna already looking at him?
Yeah, I mean, that's how they behave. I mean, he could have just said, if you look at me, that's how they behave, right? Or, no.
But where is the knowledge for the posterity? If Arjuna is looking, he can say, I look at me, but Arjuna is idolizing him. But where are you and I who are not seeing him?
Yeah.
Where are we getting the lakshanas for self-growth from? It'll all become mystical. Shastra, in other words, let me say it this way. The answer is a very short answer. It has shortcomings in that answer, what I just said. The actual part is, Shastra does not leave anything ambiguous. If he has to say, just look at me, it's actually a very poetic statement. If he was to look at, he's already looking at him and he's already inspired by him. But now Krishna has started a topic of knowledge. उसकी मोह को नष्ट करने के लिए वो मार्गदर्शन कर रहे हैं. And if Krishna is to say, look at me, will it remove his delusion?
Oh,
Hanji?
no, I
It'll
don't.
confuse him more, I think.
It will confuse him more. So, Shastra describes everything that it says. It said that uski prajna sthit ho gayi, aham brahmasmi sthit ho gaya, that is called moksha. Now you must know, then how will I identify, how do I know it? I am still in avidya. Moksha is far off. I can't see it. So if you say somebody gets moksha out of it, tell me who is that person and how do they function? It's a natural, logical, sequential question that must arise in the mind. And that he will answer.
Because you're trying to objectify that when you ask a question like that, and it's easy to follow something which is objectified.
Exactly. Correct. And it should be describable. It shouldn't be left to imagination.
Right.
Because I look at Krishna, I remember many years ago, I forget many years, even now, Krishna, some look at him as a Bal Gopal. Some look at him as a Basuri Wala and, have Radha Krishna ka association and mere to Giridhar Gopal, dusra na koi. So, how do I look at Krishna? Each one of us will look differently at him. Is this making sense? Clear?
Yes.
So to say that look at me is just in fact Krishna that is a job of an acharya. If he is to say look at me, he will make a cult. That's not Shastra Vidya. You'll create cults. All these cults that are there in the world, one leader and he says, look at me and follow what I say. That's not Vedic parampara. That is not what we call today as Hinduism, which is not no word at all. That's not what it is. Okay?
Yes.
Can we
Deepti
have a question?
A few minutes ago, you kind of lined the process, starting from karma yoga to Atma Vidya. Like, you can just
starting from bhogi, if all of us would start as a bhogi, means wanting desires and everything in the world. Then from bhogi we come to some anugraha, want something better in life, kind of whatever. You come to the stage of having hearing, avoiding all the wrong by some right path. Process starting is Karam Yoga. Karam Yoga then bring in some Upasana Yoga for refining the chanchalta of the mind. Some Upasana Yoga. This gives Chitta Shuddhi. Chitta Shuddhi gives Jignasa, true Jignasa, because it has brought vairagyam. So Chitta Shuddhi is vairagyam. Highlight vairagyam, rest shamadamadi. So from vairagyam now your antakaran has freedom to think on existential questions. So Jignasa comes. With Jignasa, as Chitta Shuddhi happens more and more, Jignasa becomes urgent. Fulfillment of those questions is necessary. So you start seeking knowledge. तो ज्ञान प्राप्ति की योग्यता हुई अभी तक. qualifying for it. So you start seeking knowledge. So when you seek knowledge, then you need Shastra Vidya, and you need a teacher in between, an Acharya, who can explain the Shastra in the light of what can remove the doubt. So Jnana Yogyata makes you seek a Jnana Sampradaya, a Jnana Acharya, who then puts the discipline of Shravanam Mananam. Shravanam first. Shravanam has to be based on the Sampradaya, there is a technique involved in the teaching, which is Adhyaropa Pavada. A teacher must know the traditional method of exposition of these, cannot give their own independent. So you should be prepared. The teacher should be the right teacher. Fourth chapter, he'll give the qualifications of the teacher. When this combination ever meets, then Gyan has to happen to the person. You come to the point where doubts have gone of all kinds, once and for all. Who am I is doubtless there. Then comes the stage of Jnana Nishtha. After Jnana Prapti, you sought a teacher, Shravanam, Mananam, reflection, Nididhyasnam, correction within oneself in the light of the new knowledge, the new vrittis that have formed because of the knowledge. You take correction, stay with that discipline for some time. That brings the perception of Aham Brahmasmi stronger and stronger. Then you take Nishtha of Aham Brahmasmi. And that is the final work. Krita Kritaha. After that, there's nothing to do. That is the highest goal. That is the padam that he spoke of. Vishnu padam. There's nothing else left now for this jiva to do. The samsara cycle is concluded because there is nothing shesha left to take a birth again. When the correction has happened, I am not a jiva, but I am Brahman. Karma is done, cannot have the impetus, the fuel there to have janma again for experience. So Jnani's karma doesn't bind him. All these details he gives in the third chapter then later. But that krama is Vedic krama. So now in the karma you will say sakam karma, you will do nishkam karma. So nishkam karma becomes karam yoga. Sakam karma will give you the desire, but if you associate it with God, it will give you punyam. This punyam can also help you come to the right point of getting the right teacher, the right knowledge, you can have a lot of bhatkan still going, a lot of because creation has all viewpoints. Creation is always going to have all viewpoints. There'll always be different matas. So your Vivek Buddhi has to be employed to know what is the right matam for you to follow for now at that stage. So if someone is in a really initial, mind is completely distracted, they may need another kind of a practice. So what is going to keep a person? But Vedic view is this. Brings every jiva to the point of moksha. Because every jiva is a conscious being, is Atman, is Brahman. Every life form is that. It is Brahman expressing as life. Therefore, as long as I think I am a person, I am denying myself the knowledge that all this is Brahman. So the person says, okay, let me start wherever the starting point is, we have to start there anyway. That's how the journey begins first.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Yeah.
So no other question, then we will meet tomorrow.
If we have time, and I can definitely take it offline. I know you have talked in detail about Swadharma, but if you could just touch up on it basically. So this is something that you're getting introduced to later in life. How do you identify your Swadharma then? When you're younger, it's and you're introduced to this concept. Maybe it's easier to then find a path which you identify with. But how do you do it later in life?
In fact, the first thing, if it has come to us later in life, then our first responsibility is to give it to the youngers, to encourage them to choose their life path on their Swadharma. Before we delve into ours now, ours becomes the first duty to let this be known to the younger generation that your first choice is you have to be living in Swadharma, because it's a terrible consequence if you don't choose Swadharma. Second then is, when it's later in life, there are a lot of, even if it means drastic measures, I'm taking an extreme step. Even if it means drastic measures to come to the point of returning to Swadharma, one may have to take it if one wishes well-being for oneself. How do you know what is your Swadharma? Real practical way is, you have to start writing your thoughts, journaling, for a few weeks and months. When you do journaling, after a few weeks and months, you realize there is a pattern of thoughts that emerges in you, which every day we don't register really. That's who we are. We are patterned people, really speaking. We are conditioned people. So we don't even know our own Swabhav today. We are constantly expressing, but we don't have knowledge of our Swabhav. So till you have knowledge of your own Swabhav, you're alert or aware of who you are as a person, what defines you as a person today. You cannot choose your field of activity, really speaking. What inspires you, what interests you. So when you see a pattern developing, identifiable, then you actually kind of makes it very clear that this is kind of a direction in which my interest flows. And then you start off, obviously today there are so many branches available. So, and biggest question, counter question to Swadharma is, what sustains Swadharma is, if I do not do it this way and I do it another way, will I remain happy in the future? Do I see myself happy at another point of time? There's a counter question that answers sometimes the real question. So if I'm not able to identify Swadharma, supposing, and I say, okay, I take to something, but do I see myself 30 years down the line happy doing it? Will I be as inspired, as motivated, as geared up every day to get into that field of activity? Will it self-sustain my interest? We all have one interest, two interests, three interests, because we are defined people by past actions. Out of those, if someone just has one, there is no confusion. Supposing you have 2 or 3 interests, you will have to prioritize one of them where your interest will last longer, even if it doesn't give you as lucrative an offer as maybe another interest of yours gives. So some people put the second interest into hobby. And you know what I mean. If you sing very well, then that's your hobby. But it can keep you completely involved, even though it gives you nothing back, apparently. But you get your happiness, you can see, and you can see a dedication coming out of you. Where can I dedicate better? Because dedication will come where there is interest. So if I'm doing something, however much I may say karam yog kar lu, it will not work for me if it is not Swadharma. My dedication will come in. Sorry?
Yeah, and that's why the question, like you said, if you're not doing that, yeah, you will not be able to do karam yoga.
Won't be, the dedication will not come only. So where will you dedicate it to? Where is the arpana buddhi? So Swadharma is a very, today why it is a confusion. Let me complete the topic. Today there is a confusion with reference to Swadharma because Swadharma, technically speaking, is Varna Ashram based. Varna and Ashram based. So technically speaking, Varna and Ashram determine your Swadharma. So that was very easy to identify. What is my Varna and what is my Ashram? So because if your goal is only higher, you don't have to think about your Ragadvesh at all. What interests me, what doesn't. This Varna, this Ashrama, Vedic surrender is there. Path is surrender. Vedas have said if you have this Varna, this Ashrama, these are your karmas to do. That is your Swadharma. So Brahmin has teaching to do, has pathanam, pathanam to do, Kshatriya has rakshanam to do, etc. It becomes easy then to follow Swadharma because Vedas have already given it to you. The confusion in the modern today's society is when Varna and Ashram have got broken down as a societal structure. But the principle of Swadharma cannot change for growth. And we have got intermixture of castes. So a child is not born out of a pure Varna and Ashram in intermixture. Means parampara se jo chal raha tha. So it's more difficult to identify because with intermixture, the interests have intermixed. The capabilities have intermixed. Everything's intermixed. So the question of identifying Swadharma is more elaborate now, but it is still identifiable. I definitely used to think, long ago, that we should have, like psychologists have questions. Swadharma should be one of the projects somebody will have to take up in the modern times. I thought sometime maybe we'll come to that point where we will be able to do it, but we haven't been able to do it. But Swadharma should be one of those kind of questionnaire systems where it will help you identify Swadharma. Needs a lot of work, but it's possible. And even if it is, that's why he will say it very clearly. And I'm just repeating myself again, though I know you understood. But the difficult part for us is, even if it is not lucrative, in today's times, that becomes the difficult part to follow Swadharma. Because there is a certain level of continuity of your comfort or status or expectation from others that also you need to account for in what you do. So those that do not provide enough, people say these are your hobbies. Whereas these confusions never came. What is your, if supposing somebody is only musically inclined, how did Meera and Kabir and all these people become Gyanis? Purely based on their interest. They pursued it and dedicated that. And through that, so if someone sings a Tyagaraja with Tyagaraja's, what are they? Tyagaraja's term called is written. So it's a Kabir Doha. He writes the Kabir Dohas. If someone's just following that, Ishwar Arpanam is so easy. That is why they became matured people. Even if they didn't come to the path of knowledge, people matured. We have in every field of activity, those who have picked up as Swadharma, they've excelled in it. Even if they've lived humble lives. But they've excelled as people. As a person, they excel themselves. Their talent excels itself. And it reaches them. It touches people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Thank you so much. Yes.
For now, I think journaling is the only possibility. Kritis, yeah. Kritis, correct me. Tyagaraja Kritis. And they're beautiful, full Advaitam in those Kritis. Okay, everyone, thank you. We should end the session here. 7:30, the longest.
Yes.
Once again, may the Gita Jayanti be celebrated by everyone in our lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Will I close it?
Thank you so much,
Yes,
Hari Om.
Jai Hari Om.
So